Hi everybody, and welcome back to government class. Now here's the next thing that I want to talk about for this next section you need to learn about, and that is the Senate. Now one of the things I want you guys to understand, if you haven't figured it out already, is that our legislative branch, the branch responsible for making law, also Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution, is that it's broken into two chambers, okay? It's bicameral, which means two chambers. Now, the first chamber is the House of Representatives, which you guys have already looked at and studied on. So now it's time to look at the second chamber, and that is the Senate. Now, in order to understand this, one of the things that you guys need to figure out is that when putting together our government, at first they wanted everything to be basically by majority. So I think we can all relate to that. But the problem is sometimes the minority has to look out for it. But just because something's popular doesn't always make it right. And so what it came down to is some of the less populated states, and I'm going to call them smaller states, needed more representation in government. Otherwise, states, big states with large populations, would be able to do whatever they wanted, and the small states really couldn't stop them. And so basically they created the House of Representatives to represent the will of the people or help out the big states, and the Senate was created to help out the less populated states or the smaller states. So one of the things you got to understand is each state gets two representatives, no matter the size. So in the case of the Senate, Idaho gets two representatives. In the case of the Senate, California gets two representatives. In the case of Montana, they get two representatives. That way, if anything passes the House and the smaller states don't like it, they could block it in the Senate. And this gives the small states some say, ability to be able to stop something. One of the things I like to use an example is a few years ago, we had here in Idaho concerns about water rights. There was an idea of maybe shipping a bunch of water from Idaho, Washington, Montana to California to help relieve their drought. Now, if we only had a single house that was based on the majority, California would have gotten their way, and a large aqueducts would have been built, and a lot of our water here in Idaho would have been shipped down to California to help them with their drought. However, because there is a Senate, Idaho and other less populated states or smaller states were able to block that. So again, what may be a good idea for the majority isn't always right for the minority, and that's what the Senate is for. The last thing you need to understand about the Senate is that is where the most power is. Like we talked about with the House of Representatives, those representatives only hold their office for 2 years. The Senate, on the other hand, each senator holds their office for 6 years. They're the most powerful office in government, and we should really expect more from them. Think about it. A House of Representative member or a congressman gets 2 years, and even the president only gets 4 and maybe 8 if he's lucky and reelected. But a senator is in office for 6 solid years before he has to face, or she has to face, re-election again. So that's a big deal. There's also going to be all kinds of other powers that you're going to have to study and understand over the course of this day about the Senate, and all those assignments will be attached below. Keep working, and I'll talk to you soon.